Yesterday, I updated you on the news that the Palestinian Authority asked for Israel to treat their chief negotiator, Saeb Erekat, who was actually one of their chief terror leaders, in an Israeli hospital since he right now has the coronavirus and he's not doing so well. Well, Israel took him in and he's being treated at Hadassah Hospital. This is the same Erekat and Palestinian Authority that supports boycotting Israel and even forbidding to transfer their own residents for treatment in Israeli hospitals as an anti-Israel act that really only hurts their own residents. Again, Erekat is a terrorist in a suit. He's one of the leaders. He sends them off. He pays them. Erekat has supported terror against Israel for decades. He is responsible for paying terrorists jailed by Israel as a reward for murdering innocent Israelis, even though the United States and even Europe have gone against the pay-for-slay program. Now, Israel is treating this arch-terrorist in an Israeli hospital, while Hamas is holding bodies of dead IDF soldiers and not giving them to us for years. Anytime a terrorist is killed, there are public calls for Israel only to return the body of the dead terrorist if the bodies of our dead IDF soldiers are returned to us. Sounds fair, right? Well, yesterday, two organizations sent a very important letter to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Benny Gantz, and Minister of Internal Security Amir Ohana, reminding them of their moral duty as leaders of Israel to not release the body of senior terrorist Saeb Erekat if he dies or when he dies, unless, yes, our IDF soldier bodies are returned to us. And they write, "We are Herzl and Meirav Hajjaj, the parents of Lieutenant Shir Hajjaj from the Choosing a Life Forum of Bereaved Families and Victims of Terrorism. Their daughter was killed in a terror act. Together with the heads of the Torat Lechima organization, we appeal to you not to return the body of terrorist Saeb Erekat if he dies or when he dies to his family and to the Palestinian Authority, according to your decision not to return the bodies of terrorists until our missing IDF soldiers are returned." That is a government decision. Going back to their letter, Erekat was directly responsible for transferring the salaries of terrorists, supporting terrorists who murdered Israelis, for example, the terrorists who murdered Major General and Minister Rehavam Ze'evi, cooperating with the anti-Semitic organization BDS, and more. Erekat worked hard together with Hamas to put IDF soldiers and officers on trial in the International Criminal Court of the Hague Tribunal for allegedly committing war crimes, and dozens of other examples. Therefore, Erekat is considered a terrorist for everything and more. And that is how he should be treated. If he dies, his body should not be returned as long as our missing IDF soldiers are being held captive by Hamas. This is your direct responsibility for the IDF soldiers, for the citizens of Israel, and for the uncompromising war against haters of Israel and nationalist murderers, which it is your duty as the captains of the defense establishment to lead. Powerful and very true letter. Now, if anyone has any doubts about Saeb Erekat being a terrorist, well, here is some additional information. Well, Erekat called a wave of deadly stabbings, car rammings, and shootings by terrorists against Israeli civilians self-defense. He has said, "I will never recognize Israel as a Jewish state." He is the negotiator. He wants peace with us. In addition, he equated Israelis with ISIS on multiple occasions. He claimed clear archaeological evidence of an ancient Jewish presence in Jerusalem was fake, right? He doesn't even recognize us. He spread outright lies about clashes between Israeli forces and terrorist groups in Jenin in 2002. He claimed it was a massacre and said on CNN that there were over 500 deaths among the Palestinian Arabs. It soon emerged that this was a blatant lie to smear Israel for war crimes in the global media and the world stage. In reality, 23 Israeli soldiers and 53 Arab terrorists were killed in that battle in Jenin. In addition, here are some random quotes showing the true colors of this chief negotiator, Erekat. And these are all quotes he was quoted as saying in the Palestinian Authority daily newspaper in Arabic, Al-Hayat Al-Jadida, translated into English by the Palestinian Media Watch. Here we go. PLO chief negotiator Erekat celebrates the UN's failure to condemn Hamas and its actions, calls U.S. Ambassador Haley's defense of Israel shameful and unethical. So that was December 8th, 2018. Let's go for another one. PLO chief negotiator say Erekat, the U.S. is the one that has destroyed the peace process and is not fit to serve as a partner or mediator in the peace process. Again, and these go on for years and years and years. All right, another one. The Palestinian Authority leadership will continue to pay the salaries of the prisoners, the martyrs' families, and the wounded. Those are all terrorists who he supports paying as they sit in jail for murdering innocent Israelis. And basically, folks, this man is a terrorist in a suit. And the organizations behind that letter are correct. If Erekat dies in the hospital, treatment doesn't help him, then Israel should only return his body to his family after the bodies of our dead IDF soldiers are returned, as per a previous government decision. That is justice. That is how you deal with terrorists.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.